Who is Bray Wyatt even going to be facing at WrestleMania? Is it going to be Brock Lesnar or is it going to be Bobby Lashley? Could we even see a Lesnar versus Lashley rematch on the grandest stage of them all after Elimination Chamber? WWE reportedly has strong interest from Saudi Arabia, but reportedly the asking price is too high for a possible sale of the company. What's going on with the WrestleMania 39 main event after Roman Reigns defeated Sami Zayn? Are we getting Reigns versus Rhodes, or could we still get a triple threat match? WWE is reportedly the favourites to sign Jay White after he's left New Japan Pro Wrestling. Is Triple H disappointed in some of his recent signings since he became in charge of WWE Creative? Montez Ford is a star according to Triple H after his Elimination Chamber performance. Could former NXT Tag Team Champions the AOP be returning to WWE? Edge is going to be challenging for the United States Championship tonight on Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins recreates Joaquin Phoenix's Joker on the road to WrestleMania, and Elimination Chamber this past weekend breaks several WWE records. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Bray Wyatt, Bobby Lashley, and the Beast Brock Lesnar. What is going on with all three when we get into WrestleMania? Of course, the Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley match at Elimination Chamber this past weekend ended in a disqualification after Lesnar nailed a low blow. While the Lesnar versus Lashley feud is set to continue coming out of Elimination Chamber, a new report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select notes that a fourth singles match between the two is not, quote, locked in for WrestleMania 39. It remains to be seen how the Lesnar versus Lashley finish will play into the road to WrestleMania 39 and into Bray Wyatt's warning to the two superstars, which he issued on Friday's edition of SmackDown. While Uncle Howdy stood by, Wyatt said the winner of the match should run. He'll be back on SmackDown this week to host an edition of the Firefly Funhouse, and most likely we should know more by then. After Lesnar's disqualification loss to Lashley, he attacked the referee with an F5, then delivered another to Lashley. Lesnar took Lashley to the floor and hit an F5 through an announce table at ringside, then launched the referee into what was left of the table with another F5. Now, in an update, Lesnar's spot with the referee was planned this time. Of course, it was noted previously how Lesnar had quite a bit of backstage heat, not that it matters, over his unplanned referee spot at the Royal Rumble last month. It was also noted in this new report that Lesnar was never punished for what happened at the Rumble, but again, it's certainly interesting to try and figure out what is indeed going to be happening between Bray Wyatt, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Given the finish of Elimination Chamber, some have speculated, well, that just means we're going to get a rematch at WrestleMania. But at the same time, Bray Wyatt sent out that warning. What are we getting? A triple threat? Are we getting Wyatt versus Lashley? Are we getting Wyatt versus Lesnar? Are we getting the Wyatt Six versus the Hurt Business? What's going on? We don't know right now, but of course, you can let me know your theories in the comment section below. Let's switch gears here and talk about a possible sale of World Wrestling Entertainment. Nick Khan previously said that we should expect more details and an actual sale, a transaction being done pretty quickly within the next few months. Now, Triple H said after Elimination Chamber that he's staying out of the WWE sale talk and remaining tight-lipped on the matter. But interest in the company is reportedly high. According to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Saudi Arabia is keen to acquire WWE, but it's unclear if they're willing to spend $9 billion from the Public Investment Fund in order to make it happen. However, Meltzer noted that Saudi Arabia wants to buy WWE for more than business reasons, which might make them the most likely party to shell out that type of money. He compared the situation to the country's Public Investment Fund financing of Live Golf and also investing in soccer. Of course, they've purchased Newcastle United over here in the UK in the Premier League. Similar to, and with that, it must be said also too, it's led to accusations of, quote, sports washing. And similar to those situations, acquiring WWE could help bolster the reputation of Saudi Arabia in the eyes of outsiders, as the country has been heavily criticized over human rights issues in the past. During the podcast, Dave Meltzer also discussed Tony Khan and Endeavor's reported interest in WWE. While both parties have connections and resources to put a substantial bid together, it's more likely that Saudi Arabia will acquire the company should Vince McMahon and co. decide to sell WWE to the highest bidder. Khan has expressed interest in purchasing the company in the past, stating that his family is in the business of making big purchases. At the time of recording, McMahon reportedly wants $9 billion with a B for WWE. According to Dave Meltzer, the current market value is $6.5 billion, and McMahon's hefty price demands have caused stock value to drop recently. However, in the event that the company is sold for over $6.5 billion, the stock should experience a significant boost. That's, of course, if it remains a public company. It could be taken private depending on who purchases World Wrestling Entertainment. The future of WWE is uncertain at the moment, but Nick Khan expects the sale to go through quickly, perhaps even within the next 3 months. Of course, that's what he said, and I was referencing earlier during his recent interview with CNBC, where he didn't even rule out Comcast as a potential purchaser, even though those at CNBC were saying, oh, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but he says they're bullish about the prospect of selling to whoever is right for the company. And even Vince McMahon has assured the WWE board of directors he would be open to a sale, which the company who purchases WWE wouldn't want Vince McMahon around. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to wait and see. Now, after Elimination Chamber this past weekend, the road to WrestleMania becomes a little bit clearer, but also a little bit more complicated and a little bit more confusing. And there are certainly questions that people are still asking about the main event, certainly, of WrestleMania. The highly anticipated match between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn closed out this past weekend's Elimination Chamber premium live event in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The match was filled with drama and saw Roman Reigns retain the undisputed WWE Universal title after Jey Uso entered the ring. While Jey did not turn on Sami Zayn as many expected, he was accidentally speared by Sami, leading to the finish of the bout. Despite Sami's loss, many fans have still wondered if he could be added to the main event of WrestleMania, making the match a triple threat match with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, or possibly a situation where both titles individually are on the line in a 2 out of 3 sort of fall situation. The first fall being for the WWE Championship and the second fall being for the Universal Championship. Per Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE is set to keep the match as just Reigns versus Rhodes as of now, but he noted that WWE could always change their mind, which some have speculated is saying Dave Meltzer doesn't really know. Nevertheless, he said, quote, "I know what the plan was as of even a week ago, and it was Roman and Cody. It's not Sami being thrown in. Could they do it? They could always change. I thought watching the Cody interview with Sami on Monday's Raw, maybe you do make it a three-way. Look, I was told they weren't going to do anything with the Sami thing, but you always go, it could always change." Of course, Kevin Owens' return at the end of Elimination Chamber seems to set up an undisputed tag team championship match with the Usos at WrestleMania, but as Meltzer says, anything can and maybe will change as we get closer to the showcase of the Immortals. Now, Jay White's pro wrestling future has been the topic of a lot of speculation recently, of course, after he seemingly departed New Japan Pro Wrestling this past weekend with his loss to Eddie Kingston in a loser leaves New Japan Pro Wrestling match at Battle in the Valley. And a new report has revealed that WWE is certainly the favourite in signing the top free agent. At New Japan Battle in the Valley, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Jay White lost to Eddie Kingston in a loser leaves New Japan Pro Wrestling match. With this loss, along with his loser leaves Japan loss to Hikuleo last weekend, Switchblade is left with no options but to finally end his run with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Reports since the announcement of his loser leaves Japan bout have stated that White would likely sign with WWE or AEW when his New Japan Pro Wrestling contract expires, with it set to expire in the very near future. According to the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, WWE is, quote, certainly the favourite to sign the Bullet Club leader. Meltzer writes, quote, nobody in WWE has confirmed Jay White coming in, but they are certainly the favourite. One would think if White was going to AEW, he'd be able to work big shows with New Japan and would continue to do so, but they wouldn't do the loser leaves for a good stipulation. As previously reported, Jay White took to Twitter this past weekend to make his first social media post following his loss at Battle in the Valley, talking about his New Japan Pro Wrestling career. We're going to touch on that later today in the AEW/New Japan Pro Wrestling news video. But what Meltzer is saying does hold a bit of sense to it, to be fair. What he's essentially saying is if he went to AEW, he'd still be able to work these New Japan Pro Wrestling shows. Why would he do a loser leaves Japan and loser leaves New Japan match when he could go to AEW and he can still do New Japan Pro Wrestling matches. Most likely, that kind of stipulation is not only to write himself out of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but also to maybe facilitate his jump to WWE once his contract expires. Now, that would be a big signing for WWE, but he wouldn't be the first big signing that WWE has made. Of course, several signings have been made under the Triple H era in the Triple H regime, with several of them being stars that have come back. But a new report kind of opens up on the previous rumors that Triple H was disappointed in some returning stars not being up to his previous standards. Now, this comes from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, that Triple H, of course, has brought in over a dozen departed WWE talent back to the company since taking over WWE. Recently, a report emerged that Triple H had been underwhelmed by several of those talents. If that's true, WWE is certainly downplaying it, as a long-time employee contacted Fightful to say that in the following weeks that they've been severely downplayed within WWE. One source stated that it wasn't a thing they would ever expect Triple H to say out loud, even if he did believe it. Specifically, one member of the creative team said that nobody that WWE brought back was expected to immediately ascend to the top of an already planned out top of the card. Another source familiar with the situation said that Triple H found it important to add more depth to the Raw and SmackDown brand, and that was told to numerous talent that were brought back in. It was also noted to Fightful that he was hopeful it was a long-term play, as they want each act to be a little more over every time they come back to an arena. Several of the talent re-signed were even told when they were brought in that depth was a big point in bringing them back. The depth issue was one that was immediately brought up to creative when Triple H made it into Power, as anyone who had watched the show saw that Raw and SmackDown were largely the same shows each week. This story had been largely shelved until WWE Elimination Chamber, when another source pointed to the performances of Johnny Gargano and Bronson Reed as, quote, showing their value when given an opportunity. So, Certainly, it's interesting. There had been reports saying he was disappointed, and the report doesn't necessarily dispute that. They say, well, we would never know because Triple H would never say that out loud, but it was more of a depth situation, so expectations might not have been that high anyway. And again, it depends. It's a case-by-case basis, isn't it? Certainly. You've got acts like Hit Row that, in my opinion, they were never going to succeed without Swerve Strickland being brought back in. That was his faction. That was his group. But you've also got people like Bray Wyatt that have come back, that have sold huge amounts of merchandise and done good ratings as well. So I think they would consider those a success. It depends on the person. It depends on the act, in my opinion, certainly. Now, Montez Ford certainly had what many felt like was a star-making night at Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber saw several star-making performances take place as the likes of Sami Zayn, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley impressed with their respective efforts. Paul Triple H Levesque praised a wide variety of wrestlers who competed at the event during the post-show press conference, but he missed out on Montez Ford, which he wanted to put right via a social media post. Quote, mismentioning at the press conference, Levesque tweeted, but Montez Ford is a star, hashtag WWE Chamber. Ford got the rare chance to compete as a singles wrestler by participating in the men's Elimination Chamber match for the United States Championship. While of course he didn't walk away with the gold, he certainly put on a performance to remember. The Street Profits member was able to eliminate both Bronson Reed and Damian Priest during the encounter, and he created one of the most memorable moments of the evening as he scaled to the roof of the chamber structure and dropped down on the other participants. Ford was ultimately eliminated by the eventual winner Austin Theory, who took advantage after Seth Rollins had hit his stomp on Ford as his head hung over the rope. There was some concern about Ford's health afterwards, as he had to be helped out to the back by the doctors, but he was fine after the show, and this was just a spot to allow Logan Paul to get inside the chamber and cost Rollins. While Paul was busy at the moment screwing his current rival, he was also impressed by what he saw from Ford at the latest Premium Live event, as he also praised him on social media. Now, when it comes to Montez Ford as well, again, there has been quite a bit of discussion, and again, he's perfectly fine, he's perfectly healthy, and it has led to lots of people discussing, when is Montez Ford going to break away as a single star? Certainly, lots of people were impressed by this. Lots of people have been calling for Ford for a long time to go on a singles run. We've heard numerous reports over the years of WWE discussing breaking up the Street Profits. Maybe this is just a teaser of what's to come in the future, with Ford eventually becoming a big single star in his own right. This is an interesting one when it comes to the AOP possibly returning to WWE. There's an update on former WWE Tag Team authors of Pain, Akam and Rezar, and their former manager, WWE Hall of Famer Paul Ellering. In a new report from Fightful Select, those they've spoken to say the duo, quote, have an incredible amount of loyalty to Ellering, and Ellering will be, quote, heading up negotiating their deal with WWE. As reported at the end of January, WWE had internal discussions about bringing back AOP and their original manager Ellering. Ellering had first been their manager while in NXT in 2016, but Drake Maverick became their manager when they went to the main roster in April of 2018. AOP was with WWE until 2020. During their WWE run, they held the NXT Tag Team titles and the Raw Tag Team titles and won the NXT Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. One of AOP's last matches was on March 2020, where they teamed up with Seth Rollins and current AEW star Buddy Matthews to defeat the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. They haven't wrestled since their WWE release. Of course, it's worth noting that 2 years after Akam and Rezar were released, they announced a new wrestling promotion called Wrestling Entertainment Series. WES was originally going to have its first show on July 7, 2022 in Nottingham, England, but it never happened and the promotion eventually ended due to the failed debut. WES also ended due to payment issues and the event advertising talent that weren't actually going to be there. Of course, if we get any more updates about AOP possibly returning to WWE, we'll let you know, but it looks like Paul Ellering is going to be their manager in more than one way, not just on television, but also in real life, negotiating a possible return to WWE. This is a really interesting one too. Tonight on Raw, we're getting a United States Championship match. During the Elimination Chamber press conference, an upcoming championship match was announced for Monday Night Raw. Well, Austin Theory went first in the post-show press conference where he wore sunglasses, as well as note that he was a fighting champion. When Beth Phoenix and Edge came out, Edge broke some news of his own that he noted he was happy to accept Austin Theory's open challenge for the United States Championship. In fact, why not have the match on this week's edition of Monday Night Raw? Now, we'll have to find out whether Austin Theory actually goes through with the match or if he ends up wiggling his way out of this one. Of course, Theory retained his US title at Elimination Chamber. Edge is a former US champion. Of course, he actually unified the titles back in 2001 at Survivor Series with the WWF at the time versus WCW, and I believe he was the Intercontinental Champion. I forget who was the US champion at the time. You can let me know. But he is a former US champion. I don't think he wins it, but certainly interesting that he's going to be wrestling live on Raw tonight. We got our first WrestleMania movie parody trailer, and guess what? It was a good one. If you thought the vintage WrestleMania Go Hollywood spots are fun, wait until you see the first one for WrestleMania 39. Likely just the first of a series, the WrestleMania Goes Hollywood vignettes from the last time WWE hosted the event in Los Angeles seem to have been resurrected with now the current WWE stars. In a clip that aired during Elimination Chamber, both Becky Lynch and Seth freaking Rollins featured in the cinematic delight. Seth Rollins is perfectly cast as the iteration of the Joker that was played by Joaquin Phoenix in the 2019 film by the same name. After his epic dance sequence, Rollins as the Joker is joined by his real-life wife Becky Lynch using a signature voice. Becky Lynch appears to be a Batman-esque figure, referencing her man cave and being generally awesome in the clip that you just have to watch. It must be said, to be honest, I could have kind of done without like the Becky Lynch Batman stuff because I'm just a stickler for things being exactly as they are in the movies, but Seth Rollins as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, the way it's shot, him dancing on the steps, it's just brilliant. It is so well done. Credit to WWE because the movie trailer parodies were good before, but this was excellent, and I'm really excited to see what the next ones look like. Elimination Chamber set records this past weekend, as one would expect. The Elimination Chamber Premium Live event was the final stop on the road to WrestleMania, but it had a lot of hype for itself heading into the night. The hype came from the highly anticipated main event between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, where the hometown hero looked to wrestle the championship away from the Tribal Chief. While Zayn ultimately came up short in the main event, he and Kevin Owens laid out Reigns and Jimmy Uso to share a moment in front of their hometown crowd. The event turned out to be a huge success for the company, as Triple H mentioned during the post-show press conference after the show. Triple H spoke about how the show on Saturday drew the highest gate in their WWE history in Montreal. The event was also the most watched Elimination Chamber event in the history of the pay-per-view, dating back to 2010. Brandon Thurston also asked Triple H about the potential sale during the press conference. which he said he does not really get involved in it. He's not really talking about it. Triple H also commented on how he felt the influence of legendary Hall of Famer Pat Patterson. He said, quote, "It was a historic night," Levesque said. This was about Kowalski. This was about the Russos. This was the people that made that passion about what we do over generations to get us to where we are today. This was about the Hart family. This was about Brett. And this was really about Pat Patterson. I can feel him up there," Levesque added while getting emotional. "I could feel him up there in this moment in Montreal with tears in his eyes sitting there. It was something special that he would have enjoyed it. He would have said, 'God damn it, that is the business.' The people were going nuts. The people were so proud. I cannot stop crying. I'm just telling you, he would have been impressed. It was something special every match tonight delivered." Montreal's Patterson played a pivotal role in WWE as he was the first ever Intercontinental Champion and is credited for creating the Royal Rumble match. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996 and last competed in 2000. After that, Patterson worked as a creative consultant and producer until he unfortunately passed away in December 2020 at the age of 79. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.